The idea of accepting the other, which is one of the most important ideas that help us to coexist with others in peace and love and to renounce intolerance and violence. That's why we need to develop ourselves socially to become more tolerant of the group while maintaining our uniqueness, distinctiveness, and difference, and investing these differences in progress and development rather than turning back. We argues that our assimilation of the totality of human natural principles would radically change the way we behave, treat, and perceive what is around us as well as the way we see ourselves. The idea of freedom from intolerance after understanding human nature is one of the most wonderful things we can do because emotional drama drains our energies unnecessarily. So we need to focus on turning us into observant observers of everything that is happening around us to give us a deeper ability to judge characters and deal with the toxic types of humans that stand in our way in life. These principles are a way to motivate and influence people, giving life a deeper and easier meaning and enabling us to change negative patterns and turn us into more empathetic and more satisfying people around us. Here is a list of 18 of the most important human nature principles. The irrationality principle. This law simply deals with talking about emotions and their impact on us and invites us to be aware that we act according to our whims and emotions, and therefore we must control our emotional selves that control our actions and make them negative and bad, and make them more rational by disrupting emotion and thinking objectively away from violent reactions. And this requires time and effort to develop this skill and control our emotions. The narcissism principle. Self-love and inclination to it collide with mental and objective thinking, so we have to rein in our narcissism and turn self-love into a higher meaning, which is empathy to see the minds of others, predict their actions and ease their reactions in a gentle manner, and let our mission in life be to reach harmony and shift our sensitivity towards the outside rather than the inside, as well as to recognize narcissistic people satisfactorily and avoid falling and getting involved with them. The role-playing principle. We are in the world of masks and people tend to always appear in the best possible form and hide their true feelings, and therefore we have to learn gradually how to discover these characters, which is what comes through practice and flexibility. The truth always leaks from between the lines and each mask has its cracks that expose it, so we have to learn defensive measures and how to provide the best interface for us to play a more influential role in the world of masks. The compulsive conduct principle. Each of us has a set of compulsive behaviors and patterns that must be eliminated, especially the bad ones. The law talks about the repetition of behavior and patterns and personalities due to upbringing and the environment, how to distinguish it, determine the optimal ways to treat people after discovering their personal patterns, avoid toxic personalities, and approach personalities who adopt positive behaviors. The lust and greed principle. The forbidden is desirable. Absence and presence have great effects on us. Many of the attendees stifle while the lack and absence stimulates our interest. And this is a law that distinguishes most people. The constant desire to own what we do not have the distinction of all of us. So the writer advises to learn to create ambiguity about our personalities that always pushes others to seek our knowledge and desire to return to us. The strategic absence makes people want to return because they always aspire to own. People tend to things that are not theirs. The grass is always green on the other side of the fence. We always gasp to possess what we do not have. Greed is a dominant trait in our human nature, and we have to deal with it with caution and try to make it more positive and motivated to work and give to reach, not envy and hatred for what others have reached. The self-sabotage principle. Humans have lenses that shape their worldview, which is that willingness to act or respond in a certain way, and are usually unconscious. Attitudes are divided into two main parts: negative narrow attitude and the positive expansionist attitude. We must always strive to move from negative to positive by making our attitudes more flexible to face negative hostile situations with awareness and knowing the weaknesses we suffer from and trying to remedy them. And if you are dealing with a hostile person, the appropriate solution to deal with him is not to respond to him with a corresponding hostility. The hostile reaction repression makes him persist in his hostility and justifies his hostile actions and continues on the same approach, while if your style is different you will confuse him and will not act antagonically. Even if you are one of the anxious people who are afraid of confrontation, try to get out of your anxiety and stress in pouring your energy into work, and try to control your anxiety and treat those who suffer from anxiety with their reassurance without responding and drifting behind their anxiety. And the book shows how to deal with all situations of different people of different hostile attitude, avoidance, anxiety, depressed and upset. In general, the author discusses the importance of accepting the diversity of human beings around us. The more we accept the other, the more tolerant and smoother we become, and the more we change our dominant attitudes, the more we will change our circumstances. The myopia principle. For many people, long-term vision is difficult to maintain, as most of us are driven by momentary reactions, are greatly influenced by what is going on in the present, drift to quick profit and catch up with temptations without calculations, and therefore have to practice being patient and looking further at what may happen in the future. The defense principle. Needless to say, over time people take a defensive stance and react fiercely when someone calls for change. If you want to ease their resistance, you must urge them to change their views, but not by offending them. If you want to make huge strides towards achieving your goals, you must strive for creativity. Explain your noble intentions and make them feel in control of their opinions and patterns. The repression principle. In short, people show their most beautiful sides and hide their dark side. Learn to discover beyond the qualities of holiness and apparent courage that often hide the opposite. Recognize and face your dark side, and being aware of it, you can control and direct the creative energies inherent within you. By integrating the dark side into your personality, you will become a more complete human being and radiate authenticity that attracts people to you. The envy principle. One of the most important comparative human qualities is that we are forced to compare ourselves with others, and this need for comparison serves us as a catalyst for superiority through our work, and for some this comparison may turn into what is called envy as a result of feeling inferior, and frustrated as a result of comparison, which therefore leads to secret attacks and sabotage, and none of us admits to acting out of envy. We must recognize early warning signs, such as praise and irrational bidding, and the solution to this problem is to divert envy by drawing attention away from you. Develop your sense of self-worth from internal norms rather than from constant comparisons, and invest envy to perform more distinctive work rather than hatred and create wars and conflicts. The greatness principle. Costing our sense of our abilities and greatness often deviates from the normal and becomes more negative more often, and therefore our success leads slightly to raise our greatness to more dangerous levels. We often forget the role of luck in our own successes and give credit to ourselves, and also forget the contributions of others, and we imagine that we have golden touches, and this pushes us to make irrational decisions so that our successes do not last due to the loss of contact with reality and distance from logic. The solution to this problem lies in skepticism and uncertainty about the results of our plans, moving away from excessive intransigence in case we are criticized, and confronting the drift to greatness by maintaining a realistic assessment of ourselves and our limits, and linking our sense of pride in work, achievement and contributions to society, the environment and work. The gender rigidity act principle. We tend a lot according to our human nature to suppress masculine or feminine traits in us that are some genetic and some of which come from parental influence, and we pay the price for this and lose precious dimensions in our personality when our thoughts and ways of acting become rigid and attached to the presentation of a fixed identity in society. We must recognize our missing masculine or feminine qualities and slowly reconnect with them to unleash the creative forces in us, to become more flexible by taking out the faint trait in our personalities without increasing shame, and this would amaze people that we are shaping ourselves without being made. We should not play the role of the expected soldier, but must create the role that suits us and fits us. The dispersion principle. The opinions of others and our personal mood may cause us to be distracted and lose the sense of a comprehensive direction in life, and we stand to wonder how we ended up in this work or in this place. This deviation can lead to a dead end, and the way to avoid this deadly distraction is to develop a sense of purpose in life and discover our message in society. We all have to get acquainted with our battles in life and ways to avoid them until our moments of doubt we must develop and work on and overcome our failures that are in themselves ourselves, they may be a reason to increase our resilience and redirect our potential. The code of conformity. We often lose our identity when working in a group, inadvertently mimicking what others do and say. In the midst of this, we may lose the sense of our uniqueness, distinction, and difference from the group, and the solution is to develop self-awareness and a superior understanding of the changes that occur within us in groups. And with such a smart approach, we become more effective in society, more unique and able to adapt outwardly and cooperate with others without blindly drifting behind them and identifying with the qualities of the group. The volatility principle. One of the most important human qualities is volatility. We want freedom, and at the same time we want to be a critic, and we want to enjoy protection and prosperity without sacrifices. We want the king and we want to kill him at the same time. So when you are the leader of the group, people are constantly ready to turn against you the moment you seem weak or face a setback. So you should not give in to prejudices and do not overflatter to gain friendliness, so that people do not doubt your strength and doubt your motives. Power is the exact art in creating the appearance of power, legitimacy, and justice, and once you acquire and master this art, you will gain the trust of people, and they will stand with you as their leader regardless of bad circumstances. The aggressiveness principle. The people around us seem civilized and polite, but under the mask everyone wants power and seeks it, and they try to hunt for mistakes and omissions and exploit the circumstances, so they become more aggressive and take their way by terrorizing people. These humans are ready to do anything in order to reach, and the solution with such dangerous models is to expose them and learn to look at hostility from behind artificial friendly facades and not give them strength. And when it comes to your aggressive energy, learn to tame it and direct it for productive purposes, and advocate yourself and attack problems with a card, relentlessly achieving your big ambitions. The myopia of generations principle. The values and ideas of the generation from which each person falls tend to close us from other points of view, leading to the restriction of reason and thinking. So our primary task for the generation to which we belong is to understand its influence on us and to exploit its spirit to free our minds from the constraints it imprints on us, to become freer and more familiar with all points of view. The death denial principle. Most of us spend our lives avoiding thinking about death, and instead the inevitability of death should be in our minds continuously, as our understanding of the shortness of human life fills us with a sense of purpose, urgency, and speed in achieving what we aspire to before we run out of time. We have to train ourselves to manage setbacks. It is inevitable to face the reality of death and continue life and exploit it to the fullest. Do not seek superiority, and instead use your brief presence on this earth to fulfill everyone around you.